And we'll see for ourselves if this game actually redeemed itself since launch or not, because everyone knows that Suicide Squad didn't really start off on the right foot. But as we can see here, Rocksteady's made quite some changes since then. However, the problem is that nothing actually changed though. The gameplay is still pretty much the same visual vomit fest like it was in the beginning. The only thing that's different is that they've added a few more guns to chase as the seasonal reward and like a singular new map you can traverse through in the incursions. That's it. And for this season, the map is a medieval version of Metropolis for Deathstroke for some reason, which I'm not really sure how that's really thematic to his character. Yeah, that's pretty much all they've added to this game since launch. There aren't any new enemy types, no new mission variety, not even any new bosses. You can truly feel that this is a skeleton crew working on this game because nothing really much is being added to it even one whole year after development. And according to some sources, this game has lost about $200 million overall, so I'm not surprised that WB is trying to rid themselves of this project as quickly as possible because it's just a stain on their profit margins. And if we look at the player charts from SteamDB, there are about 400 players still playing this game just on PC alone, not including console numbers. If we combine those, then I would guess probably around 800 or so people are currently playing Suicide Squad in total. And even then, I would say that 800 is still a super generous approximation for this game because of how much of a flop it was. But I mean, as you can see, this game was planned to have at least 12 little content updates that they called episodes, which are these patches that added new themed guns and a new Brainiac to kill. However, as you can see here, there are only 8 of them that are unlocked as the game officially ceases development. I just know all 6 of those remaining fans still playing this game are incredibly disappointed by this. So what's gonna happen to the other 4 episodes and how are they gonna be explained in the story? Well, obviously, the last remaining episodes have been scrapped because they're no longer working on the game. And the way that Rocksteady have written this into the lore is that Deathstroke apparently took out the other 4 remaining Brainiacs by himself off screen before he met up with the Suicide Squad. And I mean, I guess that's one way to explain why the game's never getting the other episodes. I just find it funny how Rocksteady and WB massively overestimated the success of this game and planned all this content for it before it even left the door. It's a perfect example of the dangers of putting the cart before the horse here, and I don't think you have to be a prophet to see that Suicide Squad was going to be a flop from day one because it was just cooked from a foundational level. Like, nobody wanted a live service looter shooter based off the Suicide Squad IP, especially when that looter shooter aspect wasn't even that good to begin with. But I mean, who cares about the content that they've added? It's not like the devs really put anything substantial in the game anyway. It's just one new map, a couple of guns, and a few numbers shuffled around. Everything else about the gameplay is pretty much exactly the same as it's always been. Even the enemy types are still exactly the same. So there's not really much to say about the content. However, we can talk about the final boss fight and the ending cutscene that accompanies it because they are as bad as you would expect them to be. To start, the final Brainiac boss fight is actually just plain lazy. Like, all it really is just the same 3 recycled boss fights that are already in the game put into one without any changes whatsoever. The exact same movesets, mechanics, and everything. But this time, the final Brainiac is a 3-phase boss encounter, which sounds pretty cool on paper, until you realize that the current Rocksteady is a mere husk of its former self. So this epic final boss fight meant to send this title off as the developers move on to the next project is just the exact same encounter that was in the base game when it first came out over a year ago. The first phase of the battle is just the Flash fight, the second phase is just the Green Lantern fight, and the third phase is literally the Superman fight. And after you beat the last Brainiac, he just unceremoniously falls over and dies right there. That's pretty much it. That's the grand finale that Rocksteady have cooked up for their loyal fan base that stuck with them throughout the tumultuous lifespan of the game. At this point, I'm not really surprised at the concerning lack of effort or care put into anything really because Rocksteady has never had passion with this project to begin with. It already felt like a lazy cash grab meant to capitalize on the Suicide Squad popularity, chasing the most outdated trends for an audience that isn't even there. And the cherry on top to end this, what I can barely call a content update, is the finale cutscene that plays right after you beat the episode's Brainiac, and it's just underwhelming. Kinda like how this entire game was. First of all, it's presented using still images, with Harley Quinn the only one doing the voiceover. That's right, Rocksteady couldn't even get the voice actors of the other Suicide Squad members to come back for one last job. So there's your reward for beating the last boss fight that this game will ever have to offer. And if you're wondering what happens in the final cutscene, essentially after you beat the last Brainiac, it's revealed that the Justice League that you killed in the main campaign were all just clones, and that the real ones were held in captivity by the Brainiac you just beat. So after you defeat him, they all show up like nothing ever happened. Then, with the help of the tech wizards at the headquarters, they were able to free the Suicide Squad from Amanda Waller's grasp, allowing them to escape and travel the multiverse without being on a leash anymore, and everyone lived happily ever after. Yeah, that's about it. The whole story was wrapped up with a PowerPoint slideshow that basically just undermines everything that happened in the campaign. Yeah, Wonder Woman is still dead, I guess, but what was the point in all those emotional moments they did if they were all just clones? And the fact that they didn't even bother to animate a proper cutscene using the in-game models speaks volumes about how much Rocksteady or WB ever cared about this game in the first place. It was obvious that they wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible because the game was just bleeding money every day. So I'm not at all surprised that the grand finale to send this title off with a bang turned out to be no more than just a wet fart in the wind. Sad and disappointing, and I don't think anyone is really going to miss this game when the servers finally shut down for good. Goodbye Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, you won't be missed.